What is up, all of my horror fanatics out there? Welcome back. I'm the Jay Sloan, and during the month of July, I watched a total of 26 horror movies. And without further ado, we are going to dive in and discuss each and every one of them. So the first film that I decided to watch in July is a film that I've stayed away from for several years due to its unappealing cover art and not really knowing much about the film, and boy, was that a big fucking mistake. The first film is Frailty. Frailty is a 2001 film directed by Bill Paxton, starring Matthew McConaughey, Powers Booth, and this was an amazing fucking movie. To be honest with you, I'm still beating myself up over not having watched this sooner. I love this movie so much so that, in fact, the following day I showed it to my wife and son, and they loved it equally as much. It is a thought-provoking movie with subdued acting and excellent filmmaking. It deals with heavy-hitting subjects. Religion. Where's your faith? Religion and faith are topics that can be explored in film in a tasteless way. This film does not do that. It's super suspenseful, super well acted, and just from start to finish, it will really have your mind thinking. Are you on the side of Matthew McConaughey's character? Are you on the side of Bill Paxton's character? Are you in between? Now, I'm sure a lot of people have watched this movie, so I'm not going to take too much time up on it. I just want to say that I loved it. I wish I'd have seen it sooner. Unfortunately, and fortunately, it is my first time watch, and there will be many more watches of Frailty. Number 2 was a horror film that had sat on my shelf for several years collecting dust, and I hate that it had. A 1981 film directed by Frank Henenlotter, and it is Basket Case. Basket Case is such a fun ride, man. I can't believe I had waited this long to watch it, and I'm actually kind of embarrassed that I have. This one is a perfect, sleazy, grindhouse horror film with great, gnarly practical effects, with a beautiful 80s atmosphere, and an incredibly disturbing journey between Dwayne and Bilal, two brothers whose bond and relationship you will never forget. It's just fun. It is fun 80s cheese with a deeper meaning and a deeper connection between siblings that if you look beyond the flesh and carnage, you'll see a deeper plot to this one. If you haven't seen Basket Case, obviously you could tell I loved it so much so that I ordered a shirt directly after watching it. So, Basket Case, I'm sure you've seen it. Embarrassed that I hadn't until now. Go watch Basket Case if you haven't already. Number 3 is a horror film that I had seen before, and I wanted to revisit it to see if I still found enjoyment out of it like I did the first time. It's a 2018 horror film directed by Mike P. Nelson, and it's called The Domestics. So I won't spend too much time on this one. It's a fun post-apocalyptic world. The best one I've seen? Absolutely not. There's no zombies, no infected. It's literally a world with weird, wacky, and fucked up individuals with different trade and bartering systems and different warfare and horrors that you see throughout an open area that are not like safe zones. It's good. It has some good kills. It's got some good characters in it. Some familiar faces. Kate Bosworth's in there. Tyler Hoechlin, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Lance Reddick appears. David Desmalchian. It's fun. If you want to watch it, if you're in the mood to see a post-apocalyptic film, you could go with better, more entertaining films. But if you can find this one, put it on. I found enjoyment out of it. It's The Domestics, and I'm gonna move on now. Number 4 needs no introduction, and for that reason alone, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's a 1975 classic Steven Spielberg masterpiece, and it is Jaws. So I'm not going to talk about the plot of Jaws, the directing, anything involving the film. We all know it. We love it. We love the characters. What I will talk a little bit about is the experience. On the 4th of July, it was my son's first time watching Jaws, and I know it won't be his last because it's made it up into his top favorite horror films of all time. Just the setting, the occasion, and the experience, I probably made this viewing of Jaws my favorite that I've ever had. It's fucking Jaws, guys. If you haven't seen it, I'm not wasting any more time. Go watch Jaws, please. So number 5 is a horror film that I had never seen before. It was definitely not under my radar, but for some reason I had put it off for several years. And man, this was a good fucking horror movie. This is one of the first in the lineup of French extreme horror splatter films that were very prominent in the early 2000s, and it is High Tension. This horror film is absolutely relentless, and I can't believe it took me this long to watch it. It is a cat and mouse game, a brutal slasher, extremely suspenseful, very well acted, and just overall a nail-biting film from start to finish. If you haven't seen High Tension, it follows a group of young women who are kind of dead set to be in the warpath of a deranged serial killer. And man, if you're squeamish, if you hate gore, if too much blood, guts, and just extreme violence kind of gets under your skin, don't watch this one. But I fucking loved High Tension. It's one that I'm going to watch for many, many years to come. That is my number 5. Number 6 is a 2025 horror film that I missed in theaters, and I decided to watch this one night when I really wasn't feeling like anything too deep and too thought-provoking, and this movie is Primate. Primate is an hour and a half filled with good practical effects, tolerable characters, much more tolerable than most horror films that are released today. Most of the characters you see, you kind of want axed and out of there quick. Watching the deaths over time through horror films has become satisfying because the characters are so fucking annoying. But this one had likable characters, for the most part. Very good angles, as I said, very good practical effects when CGI was necessary and used. It was proper. I liked the forefront character of Ben and the rageful Ben, and just the surrounding family members. Good setting. I'm sure it's one that most people seen in theaters. It's more like a creature feature flick and a creature feature slasher, if I will, because that's what it feels like to me. I had a blast with it. Turn your mind off, put Primate on. I'm sure it's available on a streaming service. It's one that I do regret that I missed in theater, but for most horror films that are released, I actually give this a pretty high rating to be released in 2025. So Primate, if you haven't seen it, and it's kind of your subgenre in horror in your bag, I think you'll have a fun time with it. Number 7 is a rewatch. It is one of my all-time favorite summer camp slasher films of all time. It's a 1981 classic, Madman. There's not much I'm going to say about Madman other than it's a comfort watch for me. July is one of the perfect times to put on films like Madman, The Burning, Sleepaway Camp, Friday the 13th, and I was having a rough night and I wanted to watch Madman. I love it for its corniness. I love the character of Madman Mars as well as the counselors. I love some of the deaths. If you want to see a very fucking wild, cheesy hot tub scene, this one's for you also. Some scenes are laughable, but it's just comforting to put on Madman, as it is most of those other summer camp slasher films. If for some reason you haven't seen Madman, it was during the middle of July for me, and one night I was like, it's time to say Madman Mars out loud and get him here with me. Number 8 is one that took me back to being a kid and roaming around the video store and checking out all of the cover art and really deciding what I wanted to rent for the day, and I actually rented this one back in the day, and it's one I've forgotten a lot about until I revisited it, and boy, this is a fucking entertaining movie. It is 2005's 2001 Maniacs. I feel like a lot of these early 2000s horror films really do get overlooked, and as I grow older, I find myself appreciating them more and more, and I know I'm not the only one in that camp. I see a lot of videos and a lot of reviewers who go back to films such as 2001 Maniacs, and they're mesmerized about how good it was before its time. Is it a great film? No. Is the acting really, really good? It's got Robert Englund and Lynn Shay. It's fucking awesome. The kills were very before its time and actually pretty fucking brutal from start to finish. It's another good way to turn your brain off. 2001 Maniacs is another splatter type film that takes itself seriously but at the same time has a laugh while doing it. If you don't remember it, it's also got like one of the fucking best appearances ever by Eli Roth. which somehow I find his appearances in Cabin Fever and 2001 Maniacs much better than his filmmaking. I'm sorry, Eli Roth. I'm sorry.
Ooh, faced!
Number 9 is my favorite home invasion horror film of all time. It's a film from 1997, and it is Funny Games. Funny Games is not only my favorite home invasion horror film of all time, it's probably up there with one of the most disturbing horror films that I've ever seen in my life. Disturbing visually in parts, but not quite. Disturbing mentally and emotionally, absolutely. This movie will drain you from start to finish. You will have less than zero hope throughout its duration, and you will have a climax in this movie that is not satisfying in the least. Beautifully shot, wonderfully acted, and very fucking scary and eerie. It is a subtitle movie. It's foreign, so if you haven't watched it, go into it knowing that. There is an American remake if you're more partial to that and you're not really the subtitle type. I know a lot are. But if you're just looking for a movie that you can dive into and really lose yourself, this is a bleak watch. But Funny Games I've always loved. It is so well acted and an amazing film. Number 10, another 1981 horror film. And this one, I gotta admit, I didn't have as much fun with. And it is called Don't Go Into the Woods Alone. Now, having said that I didn't enjoy it very much, is true, but I will also say some things that are equally as true. I most definitely appreciated the guerrilla style filmmaking of this film and working with what they had on such a small budget. The kills in this movie are so bizarre and so seamless and so repetitive. The body count in this is super high. So if you're going to the movie specifically for that, you want to see fun, crazy kills, not exactly practically sufficient kills, but just kills in general. They're in droves here. You're going to see tons. The acting is extremely bad. The directing is questionable, but it literally feels like they picked up a camera, went to their backyard, or went into the woods of, let's say, Eastern Kentucky, where I'm from, and just fucking hit record. And that has a beautiful style to it. It's one I can see enjoying with buddies. Enjoying it solo, not so much. I know it has an affinity and a fan base. If you're a huge fan of Don't Go Into the Woods Alone, I'm sorry if I'm upsetting you, but for me, it's one that I probably won't watch again by myself, but would watch again to have a few laughs. Number 11 is a 2024 horror film that there was a massive buzz around in the indie circuit. It's an indie horror film that was supposed to be one of the most disturbing horror films in recent memory, an extreme horror film, if you will, and it's called Ketchup on Waffles. Now, going into Ketchup on Waffles, I'll admit I had extremely high hopes. The film was supposed to be extreme, gritty, raw, and real, and while it succeeded in certain aspects, it completely let me down in others. Now, I'm not going to get on here and discourage the filmmakers or the acting. I know the film had a minuscule budget. I feel like it's a concept that could have worked in different hands, and that's what I will say. I admire the passion that you can see. It was a passion project by director. I can also see some passion within our three leads. A lot of the acting felt very flat, minus one actor, and I won't spoil that in case you decide to watch the movie. The film felt very, very long, and that'll be what I will say about it the most. My favorite part was the last few minutes of the movie, and specifically by an actor who I really enjoyed throughout. And it's not going to be for everybody, so I'm probably not the target audience. What I will say is it is not disturbing, not to me in the least. I was going in expecting something mind-changing and, I don't know, stomach-turning, and I walked out by the end of it just kind of yawning. And that is what I have to say about Ketchup on Waffles. So, the 12th film that I watched in July is not necessarily a horror film, although it does have a pretty horrific plot and very, very odd storytelling. It is a 1996 David Cronenberg film, and it is Crash. Crash is one that I've wanted to see for a long time, and it's not readily available. There's actually a high controversy around the film, which is why it's taken me so long to see it. Seeing that James Spader was headlining as well as Holly Hunter, Elias Cortez, Rosanna Arquette, I knew that I really wanted to watch this movie. And boy, I was in for an interesting experience. David Cronenberg is one of my favorite directors of all time, and it's very odd, it's very weird, but it's so different for even Cronenberg. It is a film about an individual group of people who get sexually turned on by car crashes and crashes in general, based off of a novel which was controversial as well. This is a beautifully shot film, and what makes it even more disturbing and makes it more horrific in my mind is the actors portray these characters as it being completely normal with the situations that they are in and the situations that they escalate. It's very, very fucking disturbing. The conversations, the enactments, the crashes themselves. If you haven't seen Crash, give it a watch. I can see why it's controversial. I will watch Crash again, but I'm really unsure how I feel about it still at this point. So, if you've seen Crash, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go check it out if you can find it. So number 13 is a 2025 Stephen King adaptation, and it's one that I'd seen upon its release, and I wanted to revisit it in July, and it is The Long Walk. And when I first watched The Long Walk, I came to the conclusion that I actually preferred the adaptation to the novel, which I also really love, and that's very rare. And revisiting it and actually introducing it to my son for the first time, I still stand by that. I fucking love this movie. I love the story, and the story alters so differently from the novel in a beautiful way. It's a story about a journey, an adventure, a brutal long walk with fortunes and wishes that will be at the end of it. But what are you risking to really lose within this walk? And can you gain friendship, brotherhood during the walk, and people to lean on and rely on? It's a raw and grueling story in both the novel and the film. I think that they both differ from each other pretty spectacularly, that you can enjoy both the book and the film as two different forms of media. If you haven't seen The Long Walk, it's awesome. It's actually my son's favorite film that I've ever showed him, and that probably gives it a little leg up for me as well. So The Long Walk was my number 13. Number 14 was another first-time watch for me, and it's a film that I was very familiar with its cover art, and just put it off for a long time. Until I saw it on Tubi, I decided to give it a watch. It's a 1988 film, and it's called American Gothic. American Gothic is one of those interesting late 80s, early 90s horror film where you can definitely tell the tides were slowly changing. It's fun. It's not too memorable. The performances are what they are. The standouts were the kids for me, well, the adult kids for me, and as well as Ma and Paul. It felt very much resemblant of The People Under the Stairs, which I love. This one also deals with religion in a much more subtle, slapstick kind of way. Enjoyable nonetheless. And most of the characters really take the role and their job very seriously. Not a bad film. Is it one I'd watch again? Absolutely. It had some fun kills, fun scenes, and some pretty creepy moments at times. So if you haven't seen American Gothic and you're a fan of those types of movies, check it out. Number 15 is a found footage horror film that I had never seen before, but it had been recommended to me over and over and over. And it is a 2015 horror film called Hell House LLC. Now, admittedly, found footage as a subgenre within horror is not my forte. I don't resonate with them very often. It's very few. Slim chances to none I'm going to either like or really fucking dislike a found footage film. And with this one, it dug its hooks into me pretty early on. Following a group of people who go to this backwoods small town to set up their Hell House haunted house, which they have done for several years in many different locations, except this time on camera. They go through some eerie, unexplainable, supernatural occurrences, and this will actually have the hair on the back of your neck standing up. I fucking loved Hell House LLC. It's one that if you're watching in the dark, there's going to be moments that are jump scares and non-jump scares alike that you're going to have to flip your light on for. It's really got me interested to see the rest of the series, which I'm assuming is not nearly as good as this one. But if you're a fan of found footage horror films and it's taking you this long to see Hill House LLC as it did me, give it a chance, because it might change your mind on the subgenre in general. Number 16 is another first-time watch for me. Don't know why it took me so long to watch it. Seems like that's become a repeat factor within this video. It's a 2016 horror film directed by Mike Flanagan, and it's called Hush. So going into this one, I knew the premise. I knew the different aspects of the disability and how that was going to hopefully affect the storyline and make it new, interesting, and unique for the home invasion subgenre, and it most definitely did. After watching it, I can say it's easily in my top 5 favorite home invasion films of all time. Mike Flanagan kills it, as he does with much of his other work as well. It's unique. It's shot in a very unique manner. The audio design, the crucial impact that it has on our lead and the disability of being deaf while the stalker is outside playing with its prey is beautiful. They have to toy with things visually. They have to toy with the audio and the sound design. And it's different. It's very well acted. It's very contained. And it's eerie. It's suspenseful. You never know what's going to happen. I'm sure I'm one of the only ones who are late to the party on this one, so I'm not going to waste too much breath on Hush. I would put it in high regard. It's one that I would watch again and will watch again. Number 17 also needs no introduction. It's a horror film from the year 2000. It's one of my favorites of all time, and it is American Psycho. So I put American Psycho on because it's a comfort watch, and not only that, this wasn't exactly my pick for the night. Usually in my household we have a night where we pick a film, and I'll pick one, my wife will pick one, my son will pick one, and just so happens my teenage son, who's growing to really love the genre, it was his turn to pick one, and he picked American Psycho, which I did no arguing or no complaining with, because I absolutely love this film, as well as the Bret Easton Ellis novel. And it, without talking about the movie or the plot, because much like Jaws, it doesn't really need to be discussed. I've talked about it on my channel. The experience is one. I rewatched this film anyway, but to be able to watch it with my son, dissect it, no pun intended, and discuss it, discuss that ending, discuss the overall plot, discuss the hidden messages within the film, what they were trying to go for. It's really making me proud, and to see little differences within my son's taste in horror films, and sometimes where we connect on a film, much like American Psycho. He loved it, I love it. It's American Psycho. Number 18 is one of my favorite zombie comedies of all time. It's a 1992 Peter Jackson absolute bloodfest, and it is Braindead, aka Dead Alive. If you're looking for zombies, you're looking for comedy, you're looking for a perfect blend between the two, and it's not Shaun of the Dead, and you want to see a film that actually inspired Shaun of the Dead very heavily, and you haven't seen Dead Alive, this is such... My God, I wish words could just explain what I'm thinking about right now.
Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
It's a fucking wild ride, man, and I got to introduce this to my son as well as a bunch of these movies throughout the month, and he loved it. It was a little too much for him on the gore side. The fact that the film still has some of, I think, the most blood on screen used today is crazy. The practical effects within this movie still hold up, still stand out. The comedy's still there. It's still horrific, and I just, it really shocks me how this film got made, and more than that, it shocks me that Peter Jackson, one of the most well-known directors, of all time, started with bad taste in Braindead, and they're just so fucking fun. If you haven't seen Dead Alive, this is one I want to throw in there. You can kind of see where my taste in horror throughout the list varies between comfortable watches, new watches, and just stuff that I maybe I didn't like. Braindead, Dead Alive, it's fucking awesome. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. So my number 19 needs no introduction. It's been known as one of the greatest horror films, if not the greatest horror film of all time, with high praise since its 2018 release. It's a first time watch for me, and this one's probably going to get me in trouble. My number 19 is Hereditary. As I said, this film needs no introduction, so I'm not going to spend time dissecting the plot or the story within the movie. To be honest, the hype is what kept me far away from this movie since its release, and I even debated on it, even watching it at all. What I will say about the movie is that there is a lot of scenes in this movie that are extremely eerie and well done. The film is beautifully shot. The acting is top notch. Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, everyone involved in the film brings their A game, and that's what I loved about it so much. On the other hand, please don't hang me. The acting is better than the story that is given. They do not complement each other. And maybe that's just a hype for me. Is it the greatest horror film of all time? Not close. Is it one of the greatest horror films of all time? Not even close to me. The story to me was lackluster in a lot of different areas, especially the final act of the story. It didn't resonate with me as much as it did apparently millions of other people. I enjoyed Hereditary, but I did not love Hereditary, and that's just my honest opinion on my number 19. My number 20 is a horror film that I actually did really love, and I've seen it 3 times now. It's a 2025 horror film, and it's called Sinners. So Sinners is a horror film that with each viewing I find myself loving this movie more and more and more. It's beautifully directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, and the atmosphere alone in this movie, coupled with the music. The music in this movie is so chilling. The performances across the board, Smoke and Stack, Remick, the brotherly bond. I've heard this film compared very similarly to From Dusk Till Dawn, and I agree it does have brotherly aspects, an outlaw area within the film. There's a lot of oppression in the film in itself within the movie is a big topic for its time, especially. It's a beautiful movie, man. From the first half to the second half to the very climax of the movie, I find myself holding on to the story, the characters, the acting, the cinematography, and the music really shakes me to my core, leading me to one of my favorite scenes in the entire film, which is the time that Preacher Boy first gets in front of people, and his music literally crosses through realms of time, and I love it. I think after watching this and introducing it to my son this July, he loved it, I love it even more, and it's made it into my top 10 favorite vampire films of all time. That's Sinners. Number 21 is a film that I recently reviewed on my channel, and it is The Golden Glove. And for that very reason alone, I'm not going to spend any time talking about this film other than I highly enjoyed it. It's the most disturbing serial killer film that I've ever watched, and if you haven't watched my review yet, please go back and watch it, and you'll see a full in-depth discussion on the film. The Golden Glove is one you should definitely check out. My number 22 is a horror film that came out in 1982, and it's starring one of my favorite actors of the 80s, Joe Spinell. And this is sort of a spiritual sequel to my favorite slasher of all time, and this film is called The Last Horror Film. So The Last Horror Film brings Joe Spinell lovingly onto the screen in almost, as I stated, a spiritual sequel to Maniac that was released in 1980. Whereas Maniac showed the dirty, grimy, depraved streets of New York, The Last Horror Film is almost perfume in a bottle. It's very 80s, it's very sleek, it's very glamorous about a character named Vinny who desperately wants to be a filmmaker. So much so that he follows an actress that he is highly obsessed with to the Cannes Film Festival, and that is what we get with The Last Horror Film, with so much more. It's beautiful. I love this movie. It doesn't take itself too seriously as Maniac does. I love them both for different reasons, but very valid reasons. If you haven't seen The Last Horror Film, please check it out. Like I said, it's more like a spiritual sequel. It's not a direct sequel to Maniac, but it gives such great vibes, and I actually have a Joe Spinell video that I'm going to be working on soon. That's all I'll say about that. That is my number 22, The Last Horror Film. My number 23 was a first time watch for me. It's another movie starring Joe Spinell. So you can see that I was kind of on a Joe Spinell kick. And this film came out in 1988, and it was his last film, sadly. It is called The Undertaker. Now, The Undertaker is a pretty bad movie, and it pains me to say that. But what I will say is that through all of its bad things, the shining star within this film is most definitely Joe Spinell. And in my eyes, I look at Maniac, the last horror film, and The Undertaker as almost like a spiritual passing of different versions of a maniac, a psychopath. From Maniac, the last horror film, The Undertaker, it's all Joe Spinell, different variations, different mood points. And I love it. I loved his performance in it. It's sad that it was his last performance. Sadly, he would pass away not long after this was released. He is incoherent and intoxicated through some of the movie, but he is still, even in his state, the brightest part of the movie. And he gives his all to the movie when he can. If you haven't seen The Undertaker, it actually has some pretty good practical effects. Some of the kills are pretty gnarly. The acting's very, very shitty, other than Joe Spinell, but it really does kind of make me sad that he didn't go out on a higher note, because I love Joe Spinell to death, and that's The Undertaker. Number 24 is a 2026 horror film that I won't talk about much, because I did a solo review on my channel, so if you haven't seen it, go check out my review of Obsession. Obsession was great. I've now seen it twice, once in theaters, once at home with my most recent Blu-ray purchase, and I still have an affinity and love Obsession. If you haven't seen the review, check it out, and if you haven't seen the movie, please watch it before you see the review. I won't give any spoilers. Obsession kicks fucking ass. So the 25th and final horror film that I watched in the month of July was a first time watch for me, and I went in knowing absolutely nothing about it. It's a 2007 French extreme horror film, and it's called Inside. So the difference between High Tension and Inside, I went into High Tension with bits and pieces of knowledge about the film. This, I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't even know it was a French extreme horror film, and boy, this was a good fucking movie. The first half of the film, following a widow the night before she is to give birth, and all the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that she's going through, the loneliness. For the first act of the movie, it almost feels like a supernatural event is going to occur. It's very mysterious, very suspenseful, until it leads to a bizarre fucking bloodbath. And that's all I'll say about it. I loved Inside. It did drag a little bit toward the end, and I won't spoil the ending, but I was not quite satisfied with that either. It's not for the squeamish. There's a few films on this list. Maybe this was just my month for that type of horror film, but I wish I'd seen it sooner, much like half of these on my list. If you haven't seen Inside, you want to see a full-length review on it, it's one that I would gladly do one over, as well as any of these other movies that I mentioned. I want to thank you guys so much for sticking out through the duration of this video. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. 25 horror films are a lot of movies to go through, but it was a fun and very memorable month for me. There are tons more videos coming, guys. I hope that you guys had a great July and you have a great August as well. If you would like to see any reviews on any of the films that I mentioned that are a little bit more in-depth and a little more personal, I would gladly do that. I would love to. And yeah, comment and subscribe, guys. And as always, keep it horror.
Wait, what are you still doing here? Well, since you're here, go ahead, comment, and subscribe. And as always, keep it horror.